Meta just committed $50 billion to a data center in Louisiana, not Silicon Valley, not California, Louisiana. The announcement is making headlines as a massive investment in AI infrastructure, but the real story is in the tax deal. Meta didn't pick Louisiana for the weather or the talent. They picked it because Louisiana handed them one of the most generous corporate tax packages ever negotiated. When a company can save billions in taxes by relocating infrastructure, the location suddenly makes perfect sense. This is about spreadsheets, not semiconductors. What's shocking is nobody's talking about what this means for technology's future. For decades, tech jobs clustered in expensive coastal cities, but when tax incentives become large enough, that entire geography changes. Meta's decision isn't unique. It's a preview of what's coming. Companies are realizing artificial intelligence infrastructure doesn't need Silicon Valley to be world-class. It needs to be where the math works out. And right now, that math is pointing away from California toward cheaper states willing to cut deals. This fundamentally changes where AI gets built, who gets hired, and which states become real power players. The Louisiana facility isn't just about Meta. It's about how technology companies make decisions about location and growth. Picture this: artificial intelligence doesn't live in the cloud. It lives in data centers, massive physical buildings filled with specialized computers called GPUs. Think of it like a power plant, except instead of generating electricity, it's generating intelligence. When you use ChatGPT or Claude, your request travels to one of these facilities where thousands of dollars worth of specialized silicon processes it simultaneously. The computation is enormous. Training a cutting-edge AI model can consume enough electricity to power a small city for a month. That's why data centers are so expensive. You're talking massive cooling systems, redundant power supplies, specialized networking, all running constantly. And when you're Meta or OpenAI or Google trying to stay competitive in AI, you can't just have one facility. You need dozens, hundreds of petabytes of storage, thousands of GPUs running simultaneously. Infrastructure costs are staggering. A single large data center costs between $5 to $10 billion to build. Add the computing hardware and the cost climbs higher. That's why Meta's $50 billion commitment matters. It's not one facility, it's a complex design to handle training and inference at global scale. Every AI company is in an infrastructure race. Whoever builds the most computational capacity fastest wins the market. Data centers aren't glamorous, but they are the real foundation of the artificial intelligence revolution. So what exactly is Meta building in Louisiana? The project is a series of massive data center facilities designed to house thousands of GPUs. We are talking about physical buildings that are likely a quarter-mile long. Think the size of multiple football fields under one roof. Inside, you've got racks of specialized computer hardware stacked floor to ceiling. Power distribution systems feeding electricity to every device. Liquid cooling systems circulating water through the chips because the heat generated is so intense. The entire complex will consume enough electricity to power a medium-sized city. That's not an exaggeration. Data centers are among the largest electrical consumers in any region they operate in. Meta isn't naming an exact timeline yet, but based on similar projects in the industry, expect construction to span several years and build-out to take even longer. This facility won't reach full capacity overnight. It's going to be a multi-phase deployment. And the reason Meta's willing to invest this much is clear. They need computational power to compete. AI model training requires staggering amounts of compute. Inference, answering user queries against trained models, requires even more distributed compute at scale. The facility in Louisiana will handle both. It'll support Meta's internal AI research. It'll run inference for AI products deployed globally, and it'll give Meta flexibility to expand as AI technology evolves. This isn't a single bet on one type of AI application. It's infrastructure for an entire era of AI development. What kind of workloads run here? Meta trains large language models like Llama that requires massive computational resources. We're talking hundreds of thousands of GPU hours just to develop one model version. Once trained, inference takes over. That's where users interact with it. Every ChatGPT query, every AI recommendation, every search result runs on inference at scale. At Meta's size, That's billions of inferences daily. A facility this large can run millions of inferences simultaneously. Compare this to traditional corporate data centers. Most companies don't need this level of compute. Standard facilities serve web traffic, databases, email, streaming, work optimized over decades. AI workloads are fundamentally different. They are compute-intensive in new ways. A single GPU costs between $10,000 to $20,000. A facility with thousands of GPUs represents billions in hardware alone. Unlike traditional centers where workloads spread across regions, training often stays localized for performance. Meta's Louisiana facility will handle both training and inference, requiring specialized network architecture, cooling systems designed for GPU heat, and power infrastructure for sustained peak loads. This isn't adding servers to an existing facility. It's building from scratch with AI-specific engineering. And here's what the headlines are missing entirely. Louisiana didn't win this deal because of sheer geography. Dozens of states were competing for Meta's investment. Arizona, Texas, Florida, all pitched data center sites. What made Louisiana stand out was the incentive package. We don't have all the details yet, but based on similar deals announced publicly, we are likely talking about property tax reductions, sales tax exemptions on equipment purchases, and potentially job creation tax credits. When you're spending $50 billion on infrastructure, even a small percentage in tax savings multiplies into billions. A 5% reduction means $2.5 billion in savings. That's enormous. Other states have made comparable offers. Virginia landed major data center expansions. Arizona hosted multiple facilities. Texas pitched aggressively, but Louisiana's package apparently outcompeted them all. And there's a strategic element too. Louisiana has relatively low labor costs, established industrial infrastructure, existing electrical capacity, and water access for cooling, practical advantages beyond just money. The tax incentives made the practical advantages irresistible. This creates a dynamic where states are in an arms race. If one state offers huge incentives, neighboring states feel pressure to match or exceed them. It's a race to the bottom in corporate tax rates. But it's also real competition for high-wage jobs. And that's where the real story gets interesting. This decision cascades outward in ways most people aren't considering. First, the economic impact. Louisiana gets major infrastructure investment and construction jobs. Long-term, hundreds of high-wage tech workers. For a state not known as a tech hub, that's significant. Geographically, this is bigger. For decades, tech investment concentrated on coasts, Silicon Valley, Seattle, Boston, that created both advantages and problems. Advantages, talent clustering. Supply chains, venture capital networks. Problems, soaring real estate, housing crises, congestion. By moving large infrastructure projects to lower-cost regions, companies decouple AI development from geography. Talent trains anywhere. Infrastructure builds anywhere. The next generation of AI talent might come from Louisiana instead of California. Politically, this changes power dynamics. States aren't passive recipients anymore, they are competing and winning megadeals. That changes where regulatory frameworks develop, where political pressure gets applied, and which states shape tech policy. It also changes competitive dynamics. When Meta owns massive capacity in one location, they are independent, not dependent on cloud providers. Not subject to regional outages. Vertical integration of infrastructure becomes a real competitive advantage. And there's an environmental angle too. Large data centers consume enormous electricity. Louisiana's power grid will handle new demand. That means state energy policy suddenly matters for global AI development. How should you think about mega deals like this? First, follow the money. Whenever a company announces massive investment, ask 3 questions. Why this place? Why now? What's the financial structure? For Meta, the answers are straightforward. Louisiana won through competitive bidding with the best tax package. Timing is driven by AI demand. Every tech company is capacity constrained right now. Financial structure includes state subsidies that reduce actual costs. That's the real story. The headline says Meta invests $50 billion. The fine print says Meta invests $50 billion with major state subsidies. Both are true. Understanding incentives explains decisions better than surface narratives. Second, track geographic changes. When companies move infrastructure away from traditional hubs, It signals real changes. California's advantages, ecosystem density, talent networks. Established suppliers are powerful but not absolute. Lower costs can outweigh those advantages. Watch where major tech infrastructure lands. It reveals where economic power actually changes. Third, consider second-order effects. One facility doesn't reshape a region overnight, but multiple facilities across Texas, Louisiana, Arizona, and other states. That changes talent distribution, housing demand, political influence, state budgets. Look for patterns, not just individual deals. These decisions reshape how entire industries think about geography and investment. Here's what Meta's Louisiana commitment actually means. Artificial intelligence is a game that rewards scale and speed. Companies that build capacity fastest win. Meta just made a massive bet on staying competitive in that race. They're telling the market loudly that they are committing serious capital to AI infrastructure for decades. That sends a signal to investors, employees, and competitors. It also signals that tax incentives work when states offer the right deal. Even global tech companies will relocate massive projects that'll inspire other states to compete more aggressively. You'll probably see more announcements like this. Other major tech companies, Google, Amazon, Nvidia startups, will make similar megadeals in other regions. The map of where AI infrastructure lives is being redrawn right now. Watch for three things going forward. First, how quickly does construction progress? Delays signal problems. Second, how many jobs actually materialize? States often project job numbers, reality often lags. Third, what's the environmental impact? Data centers consume massive electricity. Louisiana's power grid suddenly matters to global AI development. These infrastructure projects are invisible to most people. No consumer notices them, but they are the foundation everything sits on. Every AI model, every search result, every recommendation exists because of facilities like this. Understanding infrastructure means understanding the future of technology.